Welcome to the Truer Business Podcast with Cara Ferreira
and Lauren Van Mullum. This season, we're looking at how online entrepreneurs built businesses around what they wanted for their lives.
We're talking to people who broke out of the follow my formula mindset to find what worked for them so that you can find the way that works for you.
What do you really want?
Hey, and today we thought that we would do a solo episode, just Lauren and I, talking about how we actually marketed our businesses and got them off the ground. Since we've talked a lot about how there's no one-size-fits-all formula, and anyone who's selling you a step 1 to step 2 to step all the clients, maybe it worked for them, but there are definitely lots of little things I did, and I'm excited to hear what Lauren did when we just sort of actually went out and started getting clients.
Yes, like from the beginning, and things that actually meaningfully moved the needle, which I'll tell you right now, it was not a one-size-fits-all program for me.
Right. Yeah, definitely not for me either. And I actually had 2 business beginnings because I did start out as a health coach, and I still actually do some of the same things that I found worked as a health coach in my website design business when I'm looking to find clients. So it's kind of a cool thread that doesn't necessarily matter necessarily what your niche is. Some of these things will work no matter what.
Yeah, that's the nice thing. Okay, so I kind of want to dive into what we were talking about before we started recording, because you, as you said, direct quote, lost your mind in the most wonderfully pertinent way to what we're talking about today.
Yes, I did. So I have my client pipeline of like one-to-one work, like building the websites and doing some of the marketing things that like it works, and like that pipeline is full. But I do, even though I talk about it in a negative way sometimes, but I do want to sort of have like that online course program type thing, more so that it's like a course coaching hybrid where I could serve more people, especially because what I do find with the website design, a lot of them actually need to learn how to do it themselves, because when you launch your business, it's always changing.
Yeah, it's so fast.
Yeah, so it's important that these people do learn how to make their own websites and then continue to edit them in a sense. So anyway, so that's sort of like my idea of having this like online course thing. And I have had this person in my orbit, and I won't name her on the podcast, but I just sort of following her, and she puts out some great content, and her thing is helping subject matter experts package up their expertise into an online course and then promote it primarily through YouTube is what she advertises. And was attractive to me because I also do have tutorials on YouTube. So it's like I'm already there, and if they can help me maybe like fully optimize everything and just get it out there to scale, like maybe then I do have the like 30K online course months, is the whole like, my brain was like, ping, ping, shiny pennies, let's go chase it.
In the sales stuff, did she do the course math of like, if you do this, this, and that, you will make $30,000 in 30 days?
No. And the thing I do, I mean, obviously I've been in the space long enough and I've seen a lot of people do. So if it was, my bullshit meter would have gone up really.
Yeah. Okay. So for everybody listening, course math is when somebody breaks down the numbers for you and just shows you how easy it would be to make an absurd amount of money in a tiny amount of time. And I have seen, and I would totally name the person if the name was on my brain, but one of the biggest coaches out there, biggest programs out there, I caught her doing this tactic. And I'm like, oh, that's dirty, because those numbers never work. They never pan out.
No. And I will say for them, one of their things is it's lifetime access to the content and the coaching calls, because they were like, it will take some people 6 weeks to do this, and it will take some people 6 years. So like,
I love that. I actually really like this coach that you're following that we're not naming. I've got nothing bad to say about her because it seems like everything she's doing is above board.
There are some of the things that like you and I know don't like, where like the cost of this course is not out there. Like it's not on her website. You can't find it. So you do get on a sales call, and that's when they share it with you. And the cost was $8,400. But I was like, I said, lost my mind. I was like, this is the thing, and I will follow the steps, and I will have 30,000 months. And that said, she's also not promising that you will have any sort of number of months, but that you will be able to get your course out there and make money. And she does have the video testimonials where she's interviewing people on YouTube where they are making whatever crazy amount of money. But anyway, so I decided this was a thing and I'm going to do it. And they just happened, like, thank God, but they happened to be using this payment processor thing, which does give you the option of splitting up the payment without actually increasing. And sometimes you pay in installments and the total program price goes up. But this one, I was able to break it up into 4 installments, and the program price was not going to be any more. So I was like, great, that'll just make this a little bit easier for me to swing.
I really do like highlighting that as an ethical choice. If you're going to do, breaking something up into payments, making sure that it doesn't exceed the total price of the program, I think is very classy.
And I think they're able to do that through whatever this payment processor that they were using is. Because, so I put down the $2,000, I get into the program, and I do see that there's a lot there, and I can see where for somebody who does not have maybe as much, I already know how to do most of the things, I just have to do them is my problem. And like, there were some things that were really like, I think niche and interesting, and the process would be more like their proprietary thing. And so like, that was nice, but I'm in there, and like in 1 week, I'm kind of got that cringy feeling like, oh shit, I just obligated myself to pay $8,400. And I just don't think this is the value I'm going to get out of this. And I'm having to like, but of course I'm like, but that's it. Like I signed the contract. I'm in the program. I'm not going to like do a charge back and like try to get out of this. I'm just like going to suck it up and it'll be what it will be. But then magically the thing that they used, it just refunded my first payment. It sent me this email saying we're refunding your first payment and we're canceling all future payments. And then the program people emailed me and they were like, the thing told us that your payments weren't successful, and so we're kicking you out of the program, which I was a little bit annoyed about that. I was like, wouldn't you? Because in my case too, like my first payment was successful and I didn't even know they were trying to process a second payment, and their thing failed. So I was a little bit irked. I was like, wouldn't you just like come to me and be like, hey, are you having an issue? Like if the whatever payment processor we're using isn't working for you, would you rather resubmit your payment directly to, I don't know. But it was just sort of like you're kicked out at the end. And I was like, but I wasn't irked about it because I was having that like pit in my stomach feeling where I was like, ugh. And that's, I think, the tough part with these courses. I mean, if you follow people for long enough and you sort of vet them, like I do think there is value in this person's program. I don't think it's worth $8,400, but that is what it is. I do think though, like you can maybe see if it is something where like you actually do need the steps to do something. Or as telling Lauren, like after this experience, I'm like, if I'm going to spend $8,000, I need to spend it on a coach who's going to just like help me be accountable and kick my butt into gear and work on my own sort of like, but what if I launch the thing and nobody comes, like to work on that mindset stuff with me.
I think that's an excellent segue into what actually has worked for us, because it's that accountability piece that has really worked for me.
Do you want to share more about that?
Yeah. Okay. So I need to sort of preface in the beginning, the way I built my business was entirely through word of mouth, through referrals, through connections. And that's still an enormous part of how I get clients. So if I were to break down how I get clients into a pie chart, about 2/3 of the pie chart would be knowing people that refer me to their people. So that's the business programs that I copy coach for. That is memberships like Marketing for Hippies, places that I've done free workshops, and they record them and then they have them in their membership forever. And then I get these people who are like, I just watched your workshop that I did like a year ago or two, and they will come. So much of that is referrals. And then 1/3 is SEO, people finding me clear off the internet. They've never heard of me before. And that's the breakdown. And that's actually just been shifting more towards SEO in the past few years. But before that, it was all referrals for like a decade. And that was fine.
Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of these, and this program was one of them. And that's where I would never suggest somebody to looking to start their business, just be like, oh, I'm going to invest in this program. It's going to teach me this thing to get an online course in front of people. Because everyone that I've talked to who's actually been successful, and this was for me in my health coaching business when I started, it was the same way. It was networking with other coaches who were working with different issue areas, but like complementary. Like if somebody was, working with a weight loss coach, but they were having some hormonal issues, I did hormonal health. So then, collaborating with them, and we would send clients back and forth. Or I was in New York City and I went to every single obstetrician gynecologist office in the city. And if I could meet with the doctor, even better, because then they might refer out to me in terms of like doctors can only offer so much like one-on-one support. So they might do that, or some of them let me leave pamphlets in their offices, but it's like a sort of like boots on the ground thing, where it's actually like, you can't bottle that up and put that in an online course and sell it. So that's where I feel like, and it's not as sexy as being like, oh yeah, I went viral on Instagram and now I get clients.
Yeah, it's not nearly as fancy as paying Meta for ads or like hacking the system for SEO. Like those are the things that people will want to sell you. But really, it's forming relationships with complementary service providers.
Yes. And when I got into website design, at first, it was all because I did my own website as a health coach. And then I was in this pool of other health coaches who were like, who did your website? And I was like, me. And then I was doing all of their websites. And then I did branch out and did sort of the same tactic where I was looking at people who are in complementary niches, a lot of copywriters. So I did work a lot with this one woman, Blair Badenhop, who does copy and branding. And she had a group program and she would refer a lot of her clients to me. And I actually did that program when I was a health coach, which is how I got into that bubble with her. And then somehow you and I connected. So you're one of the people that now like I send people to you and I'm like, you don't have enough words for your website yet. and you send me a lot of clients as well after they work with you. So it's those relationships. And that's my business today likewise is similar in that it's like 2/3 referrals from other professionals like yourself, Lauren, and then referrals from my past clients. Now I finally hit that point where you have enough of them out there where they just, will mention your name when they meet somebody else who is looking for your service. And then there's probably likewise a third that I will get from a bit of SEO from my YouTube tutorials. And then I do have like a lazy hack to Instagram that worked when I was a coach too, actually.
Oh, I love those. I love lazy hacks.
Yeah.
I have a lazy hack for SEO.
There you go. Well, yeah, let's get into that sort of stuff. So what's your lazy SEO hack?
Okay, so I wrote a single blog post where I used all of the SEO strategies. And let me tell you, like, you don't have to do much. You just have to know exactly what to do. So I started this post with the keywords copywriter for coaches. Yes, it's the stupidest title in the world. And it has copywriter for coaches in there, which is the keyword that I wanted to target. And then I looked at the other websites that had those keywords, and there were just a handful, maybe 5. And I did website copy reviews of each of them that were very like I only chose the ones that I could say something really nice about. And I complimented these other copywriters. And I'm like, anybody who's reading my blog, you should also check out these other copywriters. They're fantastic. They're doing a beautiful job on their websites. Take a look. And so I was linking out to them and they saw that and they left comments that linked their websites back to me.
That's brilliant. And it's all so nice and generous. And like,
it's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great tactic. I've never heard anyone mention doing something like that before.
So that was part 1. And then that post wasn't great. It was not great. It was great for SEO, but the writing itself, it was not great. So I went back as soon as I saw this was performing really well. It was bringing a lot of people in. And I revised the post. And a lot of those copywriters, they had gone under. So it didn't work the way it originally had. And then I revised it to instead be a post of how I wrote this post that works so well for SEO. And this one post still brings in 90% of my cold traffic.
Wow. There is a technique. I did have one client do it, and I've considered trying it myself, but it basically is like, if you're going to have a blog, instead of writing a blog post every week or even every month, like write, I think they said like 3 to 4 really good long ones, focus on the keywords that you want to be ranking for. And you just write those 4 really solid blog posts and have those be what you rely on to bring in traffic SEO wise. So that's sort of a similar tactic.
That works really well. And you want a keyword in the title. You want the same keyword or a very close variation in the first paragraph. And then maybe a couple more times. You don't want a keyword stuff that is like, so 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think people say like 6 repeats for like an average blog post. And then if it's going to be a longer one, it can be a little bit longer, but you don't want it to be in every single thing. But yeah, that's very cool.
But yeah, that's my hack. What's your Instagram hack?
My Instagram hack is, it's just like, if because I just feel like if you're going to spend your time trying to like go viral on Instagram, like you're just going to make that your full-time job, which is not worth it.
Seriously.
And so what I do, and I have very little followers, mostly because I'm so inconsistent at it. But whenever I want to, basically what I do is, well, one, I do try to post maybe like 1 to 3 times a week, but focus on posts that actually provide value. And like that way, if somebody finds you on Instagram, they can ID exactly what you're about and like what service you're able to provide for them. So they kind of like, you can use it more as like a mini website in that sense. And likewise, if you have your Instagram profile or icon on your website and someone goes from your website to your Instagram, people will be like, oh, like here's the posts they have. This is what they provide value on. Instead of just being like, oh, like in my case, she has like 200 followers, which is like nothing. So one, like just if you're going to post, just post things that provide value and to your ideal client. And then 2, have your lead magnets. So I have, I think 5 lead magnets, and they're actually like really solid, good lead magnets. I started with one and then slowly over time, created the other ones. But what I do is I actually just post the lead magnets, and I post them with captions that I put the keywords in, and I do some hashtags, and then I get some organic boost of people finding my lead magnets. And then what they do is they go to my LinkedIn profile and they get onto my email list for the lead magnet. My email list has grown even though most of my email list comes from Instagram, they get on my email list, like they hardly ever follow me on Instagram, which is fine because the email list is more valuable anyway, right? So just posting the lead magnets, like don't be afraid just to be like, here's this free thing I have, freebie, and then get people onto your list that way. And then obviously if you have more than one lead magnet, you're not like a broken record just being like, here's the same lead magnet. You can do it. So that's
a really good idea.
Yeah. Every 4 posts or so of mine is like, here's the lead magnet. And then thirdly, you can boost the lead magnet posts. So instead of running ads, which takes a lot more tech setup and know-how, and usually have to waste a lot of budget refining your audience and your strategy and all of that, you can still boost posts and you can curate the audience. And you want to do this from your Meta Business Suite like dashboard. You don't want to do it from the app, because if you do it from the app, I guess Apple takes a lot more money now. That's like in the past 6 months that changed, because you used to just be able to go into the app and boost it, but now it costs more if you do it that way. So you want to do it in the back end of your Facebook. Google it if you need to figure out how to do that. But like basically, I will boost a lead magnet post from like as little as like $2 a day for 7 days, and then it just gets it in front of more people. And usually when I do that, I usually get about 50 cents to $1 to get someone onto my email list that way. So every once in a while, I'll basically spend like $20 just to boost a lead magnet post and get 20 people on my list.
That's fantastic, because that is one thing that I need to do this year, is really concentrate on building my list. And I have been thinking about hiring like a meta ads expert, because I feel so lost on those platforms.
If you find a good one, let me know. Because I mean, it's always good to have someone who is an expert in that area. But like the clients I have come through that work with ads people, like it's all horror stories, because like you pay them so much money and then you have to do the ad spend. And like there's no guarantee they can make it work necessarily. So I just feel like I've yet to come across anyone who's like, yes, I have the best Facebook ads person.
It's a little terrifying. I had an old student recommend somebody to me, and then I checked out this woman's Instagram first, because I'm like, okay, if you're a meta expert, then your Instagram should look pretty great. It looked terrible. And I'm like, that's a bad sign. Granted, I don't always follow best practices in copywriting on my own website, but
it could also be I mean, who knows? Maybe if she doesn't need to rely on it for her own business to bring in traffic, she doesn't. Because I do also help clients with some of the marketing side on social media. And like I said, like I don't have, like some of my clients have like 18,000 whatever plus followers. And I did have to delete half of them because they were all Brazilians from my husband's hometown. And it was skewing the algorithm. So I was only being shown to people in Brazil for a while, I think. So that definitely didn't help me.
Oh my gosh, things that can happen. I wanted to circle back to something we were talking about, these referral partners, like unofficial or official referral partners. What is your technique for reaching out to them in the first place? Because I know that's a big stumbling block for a lot of people. It's like, okay, you say I should go and find people to refer me. How do I even do that? And I think you and I have a similar approach.
Yeah. probably. But so what I typically, well, I don't do it anymore because I have enough. But back in the day, well, one, it would just be like people, if they came up on my Instagram feed, or if I feel like I haven't used like a Facebook group in a while, but there was a time when I was in the Facebook groups. But if it seemed like there was somebody in there who was in a complementary niche, and for me, that's a lot of time it's copywriters, it can be branding strategists and graphic designers. Like if they just sort of seemed to sort of be promoting things in a way that was similar to how I was doing things. I know like me when I first came across you, and we still don't know who actually found who first, but like you serve a lot of coaches, which I do as well. And then also we seem to have similar pricing. Like we're not trying to like make $8,000 a project unless it's like really an $8,000 project. We're not just like jacking up the fees. But when I found a person like that, I would just sort of reach out, like cold reach out, just be like, hey, I noticed you on blah, 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 blah. I really like how this is happening on your website. You just seem like you serve similar clients to me. I would love to see if we could just touch base, have a call, get to know each other and each other's businesses more, and see if there's an opportunity for us to share referrals. I haven't done it in a long time, so I don't know I don't have the script anymore, but it was as simple as just like being direct, like, hey, I found you. I think you're cool.
Yeah, that's very similar to how I operate. And I still, if I see somebody who's doing something cool or has a beautiful website or has an amazing copy or is doing something on Instagram that I think is rad, I will absolutely reach out to them and just say, hey, I saw you doing this thing. That looks really cool. Here's what I do. Maybe we've got some clients in common, or I'm looking for somebody who can do this part of copy that I don't do, this part of design that I don't do. Would you be interested in like having a tea and a chat sometime? And I will totally I'm not an extrovert. I'm not an extrovert, but I'm really good at outreach and making connections.
Yeah. And that's right. I think you probably reached out to me when we first connected. Then I remember we just had a Zoom chat. It was like during the pandemic, basically. Yeah. And that's something I still will do occasionally on my discovery call for when someone just, gets on my list to chat with me about what it would look like to work with me to build a website. There's a referral section on there. So occasionally someone will put a name in there that I'm like, I'm glad this person referred like you to me, but I have no idea who this person is. So whenever that happens, I look up that person, I go to their website, I send them a message, I thank them. And then usually I'm like, I'd love to learn more about your business as well. Like, do you want to catch up?
Something I've done in more recent years is I've started building out a page on my website for referrals. So the people that I absolutely love, whose work I respect, who work in similar fields, like if I'm copywriting, they're business coaches or marketing coaches or website designers. But I have this robust referrals list that I put them on so I can remember them when I need to refer out. And also I can send that page to people, to my clients who might be looking for other professionals.
Yeah. I don't have that on my website right now, but I have in the past had it's on my about page, actually. It's like, even though they're not like official partners, but I always had a list of like copywriters, marketing strategists. And the nice thing was then a lot of them also did the same thing, which is good for the SEO. Like they would then list me. What I do now a lot is because I get a lot of inquiries for website design projects. Now there's so many platforms out there. Like I'm not going to work on a Wix website. So whenever I find a really cool Wix website designer, I'm like, hey, like let's chat. I just want to make sure that, I don't want to recommend somebody if I don't know necessarily like what their pricing strategy is or that sort of thing. Because I don't want to send somebody out into the world to get overcharged. But I usually just check in with those people. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Now like you're on my list of Wix website designers that I give to people when they come to me. And I'm like, sorry, not working on that one.
Yes, it is nice to have other, like I have a actual spreadsheet of other copywriters that I've vetted their work. I'm happy to refer them. I'm happy to put my reputation on the line for that. That's like way at the bottom of my referrals. Because that's like, if I don't want to work on your copy and I feel comfortable referring, because, I have to make sure that the client is above board too.
Right. So what's this situation where you're not a good fit for me, but there's a copywriter on my list that maybe you should check out this person instead?
Oh, that's a good question because I have a pretty decent capacity for clients that other copywriters would not want to work with. And those are the clients who are not super clear on their niche. Maybe they're not super clear on their offers, like they're really early and they're like, oh, there's a lot of things we need to talk through developmentally before we get to actually the copy. And I'm pretty good at working with those. Sometimes I'll send them to Uncage Your Business, Rebecca Tracy's program, because they really are not ready. But sometimes they're almost there. They're so close. And that's when I can come in. Most copywriters don't do that.
You're like half baby business coach and copywriter.
I mean, you do this long enough and you pick up a lot. And I wouldn't want to be a business coach. I would so much rather actual business coaches do that. But I know a lot at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of somebody I would not want to work with, but that might be a good fit for somebody else. Sometimes it is a personality fit issue. I've worked with some people who are very prickly, and I know that they need somebody who has emotional capacity to deal with that personality. It's pretty rare. I get along with most people. Some that I would not refer because I will not touch them with a 10-foot pole myself. MLMs, no. Multi-level marketing, that's a hard no. I've had a near miss where I put the brakes on like midway through onboarding them. And it was a coach that was clearly unhinged, but very well funded. Like she had a lot of money to throw around, but she just sent the alarm bells and I wouldn't refer her to anybody.
No, thank you.
Nobody needs that.
Yeah. No, for me, if it's not like a platform mismatch where I don't want to work. And before there were times when I was, early in my career where I was like, I figured out Squarespace and WordPress on my own. I was like, fine, like you have the money. I will figure out Wix for you too. But now I'm like, no, I like the platforms I like. If it's a platform mismatch, like here are some other people. Other than that, it's people if they're like in their like launching a business, like super hustler energy. Cause I'm like, I don't want to hear from you at 10 p.m. because like you tried to do something on your website and now it's an emergency because no one's dying because the sentence is in the wrong place. Because that hustler energy, they tend to do things like that.
Oh my gosh, yes. My early career had a lot of those. And somehow I think I have filtered well enough with my copy, with my branding, that they don't typically come to me anymore.
Yeah. I've heard you say like there are no emergencies in copywriting. So,
there was like once. It's happened once. And that was, I think, when the pandemic started. All of my clients were like, what do I say about this? And everybody wanted to send a newsletter out. Everybody wanted to put something on their website. And that was very like time bound. But that's hopefully a once in a lifetime issue.
Yeah. No, launches are the only thing that like, I'm like, okay, if you're some of my clients, like you are putting all of the ad spend behind this launch and whatever, the funnel is open and this link isn't working. Like I will give you some of my time after 5 p.m. for that. But
okay. So in terms of the marketing things that are working for our businesses right now, and you have to figure if you are early on in your business, there are things that are going to work really well early on in your business that do not continue to work as your business grows. So like those early, like I did, and sometimes still do, big, generous, free things that built my reputation and built those referrals early on that were completely unsustainable pretty quickly. But that's how I got in front of a lot of people in the beginning when I was building my new website, my new reputation, my new niche. So thinking of something crazy, generous that nobody else is willing to do because it is unsustainable, but it'll make a big splash. That's a really great way to get started meeting the people that will refer you in the future when you're starting. But then if you are sort of mid-career, mid-business, you've been knocking around for a while, a few years, you're going to have to think in terms of, I think, a marketing ecosystem where you're looking at your business like a pie chart, looking at where different pockets of clients could be coming from. And that's going to be your referrals. It's going to be SEO. It's going to be maybe some social media, maybe some paid, maybe some boosted posts. Social media has been the least effective for me, but that's probably because I suck at it. So I've really doubled down on the other two.
Yeah. I mean, social media is still not like I'm able to build my list with it. And a lot of times people will eventually become clients off of my list. And that's where I've invested more time in it as a website designer as I've gotten more established, where it's now something I can sort of slowly nurture and grow. But I'm not like counting on it to bring me sales. But I did do the free giveaway or like steeply discounted. I remember for a while, every once in a while, I'd post in like different Facebook groups of like health coaches or women entrepreneurs saying like, I'm building my portfolio. I'm taking on 2 website projects. I think I did one for like my first round. It was like websites for like $300. And it was steeply discounted, a little bit of cash, but then also like I would, if you feel like I did a good job, like would like your testimonial as well. So I would post in groups and get some clients that way, just at a very low end price. And then they would refer me and I would get a little bit tricky sometimes. So they'd be like, oh, so-and-so said you built them a website for $300.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, now it's not that. But for the most part, those people understood, like they weren't broadcasting the price when they were referring.
That actually reminds me of a good example of when referrals can go very badly. One of my she might have been my very first client starting out. I worked with her for years, and she had an eye for young talent. She had an eye for people who would over-deliver and underprice pathologically. And she would very proudly refer me to all of her friends and tell them the great deals I was offering to her because she was my first client ever. So she's like, I'm bringing you all this business. And I'm like, I can't pay my bills.
That's right. Yeah. It's like, sorry, that's not.
So yeah, you got to be a little careful on that one.
Yeah. For the most part, I think I was upfront, like this is like limited time only that I'm offering this. So like, don't broadcast it necessarily. But that was one of the freebie things. I mean, I also did like, I am pretty successful on Upwork. And it's only because I started at a stupidly low, like $13.50 an hour rate, which I would recommend going that low these days. But I was like in my early 20s and it was fine for a little bit. And I basically, though, I would raise my hourly rate after like every other project. And so I got up to like $65 an hour pretty quickly. But those first few, in that case, I'm building capital with the platform. Like those clients aren't necessarily referring me, but like, you get a success score based on the projects you've done. And I won those first projects because I didn't have a success score or testimonials in my profile, but because my hourly rates were low.
I think I think anybody who's able to succeed on Upwork, that's extraordinary. For a long time, I didn't think it was possible. But I really like what you just said about when you're starting out, all you want to do is build your reputation. All you want to do is build the people who refer you to other people. And you have to price yourself accordingly to do that. Sometimes I mentor baby copywriters, and which I love. And one of them, she's been through a couple of the copywriting programs that are out there, and they tell you to price your services really high out the gate. And she's like, I can't get any clients. And I'm like, yeah, because you're brand new. You have a lot of theory. You have no practice, and your prices are higher than mine. I've been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah. No, like you need to have the social proof. So like you have to get the testimonials or be able to show. I don't know if do you do portfolios in copywriting? Because I mean, for me, I have like the list of websites I've worked on.
Right. I used to. Actually, something I'm working on this year is having a page where I walk through do video walkthroughs of my favorite all-time client websites, because the problem is if I send people to a website,
it might have changed.
I
have that with my portfolio every once in a while because I do try to make sure that all of my clients can edit their websites once I have done working on it. And sometimes that doesn't go as well as we would like necessarily. So occasionally, like I do have the link in my portfolio and we click on it. I'm like, oh, that's not how it looked like when I left it. But like when I only had like 4 websites in my portfolio, I couldn't charge. I mean, my prices are still low for the market, but like I wouldn't feel comfortable charging $2,000 plus for a website with I've worked on 4 projects. once you get more of that under your belt, that's when you're able to charge more.
Yeah. And, bless Gen Z for being ballsy, but also like get some experience first, please.
Yeah. Or, I mean, you have to have something to be able to persuade people to work with you, right? So maybe you can charge a lot because you have some super great formula that you're able to advertise. I don't know. There'd have to be something.
Yeah. Like if you can kind of cross train, like maybe you're an amazing copywriter for website copy and you're an amazing newsletter person, or you do social media also. Like sometimes you can find this little cross niche that other copywriters are not willing to do. That can work great.
Yeah. But still, you probably have to got to find those prospects to then nurture into clients. Otherwise, you're just, someone with your website up. And
yeah, finding the right angle, which sometimes you just land on the exact angle that you need. And sometimes it takes years to figure it out. And sometimes, like mine, ethical copywriting, it's not going to be too long from now where that's not going to be enough of a differentiator anymore.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. Utopia.
Yeah. Then I think that the threads are, though, it's like you have to be willing to like put in the actual work in building relationships and going out there and finding clients that even if you have the money for an ad budget, like that's not necessarily a guaranteed thing either. So,
yeah. Okay. So my lead magnet right now is so bad that I'm redoing it. It's one of the top things on my list to also get done this year is to redo my lead magnet. But what do you think works really well these days? Because I think it's changed for a good lead magnet.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is now, obviously, it's like internet gospel, like have a lead magnet, get people onto your list. So everyone has one. So the value of the lead magnet has to be better. So it's more enticing for people to give you their email when there's so much stuff coming in their inboxes. Yeah. And I guess even in my website design business, like I have the DIY website and weekend guide, which I've had since basically the beginning. So it's like going on like 8 years of this lead magnet in particular. And I've redone it when I first launched it and it was successful, got people on my list, but it was like 5 pages long. Now it's 28 pages long.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think actually taking the time to make sure that it's a very valuable thing for someone. Because I think too is like if you might be able to put a sign up form that makes it look appealing enough that you might get somebody's emails. But if they then open it up and they're like, this is garbage, like that's not a lead you're going to necessarily nurture into a client one day. So that's where I think you do want to put a lot of thought into making sure that it is providing value. It's providing something that they can actually take action on and get some small wins from. And ideally, it does depend, I think, on the industry, but you'd be putting it's like this is like the tiny little like the first step that maybe they need, where like they complete that first step, they get that little win, but then like the next step is maybe the thing that they have to engage your services in to actually get that win.
Yeah, I think that's something that's never changed in best practices for lead magnets is you've got to give them a win. Like you've got to be able to help them actually move the needle in a meaningful way for them. So they get that adrenaline rush, that like dopamine rush of, oh, I did something that is moving me closer to my goal. And then the next logical step should be working with you.
Yeah, if you do it right. But that said too, like depending on like what your niche is or the price point of your offer, like, I mean, I give a lot of stuff away for free and eventually people still become clients when they want more specialized help. But yeah, I don't think you need to be afraid of like, oh, but if I tell them this thing, then they're not going to come work with me necessarily.
Yeah, no, that is like the worst thing you can do is gatekeep the good stuff. People will pay you for your expertise and your individual attention. That's where they're given the money. Otherwise, they can buy a book on literally anything. They can watch a YouTube video on literally anything. So I think so for me, the way I'm going with my freebie, once I make a better one, I've been thinking about it for a year now. So the theory is there. I really like accessibility in my freebies. And I don't think PDFs are super accessible because you have to either print them out, which requires buying new ink for your printer because you completely forgotten to do that for the past 6 months. And it's like a whole thing. Or you're staring at your computer screen, which nobody wants to do because we all have bad backs now. And like PDFs are not my favorite. So when I'm thinking of accessibility, I'm thinking, can I listen to it on my walk? Can I do a limited series podcast? That's actually what I'm planning. Or is it a video that I can watch on my phone while I'm doing laundry? YouTube would be amazing. So something that is playing with different types of media, I think is really interesting to me right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I do have my highest converting lead magnet right now actually is a masterclass. It's an hour and a half, like instructional thing, which is basically, it's my entire framework for how I get clients in who have websites that are like non-functioning and like revamp them so that they're actually like, there's a few different things like auditing your offers, making sure your messaging is, you're actually using client language. So there's that piece of it, the redesign of the website, and then setting up email marketing, and then sort of figuring out what the way to get eyeballs on your website is going to be. So it's the entire framework. It's an hour and a half long. It's really action packed. It's exactly what I take my one-on-one clients through in that section of my business. So they could go ahead and they can do it all without me now. They have everything. But if they want, individualized feedback, or if they want personalized advice, or if they want, like, that's when they go ahead. Or if they don't actually want to make the change to the website themselves, that's when they come from that lead magnet and they eventually become clients.
Oh my gosh. Can I just highlight? I just want everybody to be so cognizant of what you did not do, which is offer a lead magnet workshop that promises all these things and instead give an extended sales pitch, because that happens so often.
It's like the formula too. It's like, I hate it because it's like you opt in for this thing and then there's 20 minutes about the presenter and you're like, I know who you are. Like, what's the thing?
Let me tell you my life story for most of this. And then I will reserve maybe 5 minutes somewhere in the middle end of what I actually promised. And then the rest is, it drives me so crazy.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that Lead Magnets is doing better than my PDF ones, because all the other ones are PDFs. I do sometimes worry though, and I keep on trying to like think of ways to like retitle it or add those little disclaimers on it. Like, this is not just a sales pitch. Like, I do worry that sometimes people are like, oh, like I know what a master, like I know what a video lead magnet is. Like, you're just going to be pitching me for whatever. So I'm always like, no, it's not what it is.
Which you should do. Like, that is in the copy that I write for the legit workshops, the legit lead magnets. Like, I know what you're expecting. This is the hellscape that we live in. And here's what's actually going to happen. And then you've got to be really explicit about it, because everybody expects to be taken, Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good. Our feedback, right? It's go out there, make connections with other people that might be able to bring clients your way and you towards them. Be really good to your clients once you get them, because they're going to be the ones referring you in the future. And really high quality lead magnets if you're building your list.
Build ecosystems of referrals and make sure that you are spreading the love as much as asking for the love. I think the karma is very important. And be creative with your lead magnets, because literally everybody has one. And if you can make yours better, more informative, more actionable. Actionable is so important. More accessible. You are going to have an edge.
Yes. All right. That's our marketing 101.
Yeah, that's a wrap.